Today, we're going to talk about how we're going to kick loneliness in the butt with a heavy dose of solitude, coming up on the Reunion Hub. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. I'm your host and guide, Spencer Mark, here to talk to you about something that's very important to me. Set the scene here for you. It's sixth grade. I have been having perfect attendance my entire school career. I can remember, even in fifth grade, I think the year before, I had actually perfect attendance. And it's something I didn't know I realized I needed. I needed to be around my classmates. I was a class clown. I was funny. I was engaging. And then in sixth grade, there was a day where I was sick and I decided to stay home. Like, I was too sick to actually go to school. And halfway through the day, I just really felt this, I need to get to school. I need to see my buddies. I miss people. I need to go. And my mom came home from lunch and just said, okay, well, if you want to go, then we'll go back to school and you can go, for the second half of class. So who does this these days anyway? So my mom, she takes me back to school, and I insert myself in a class, kind of like midway into class, and I'm expecting like someone to say, "Hey, where were you this morning?" And good to see you. Nothing like that happened. I was in a small school in Salmon, Idaho, and just a few people in my class, and people were just going about their day, just as people would. But it was my first real understanding of like, no one really missed me. I was not missed at all. And I remember feeling like sad and started to tear up a little bit more. I didn't know where it was coming from. And people are just doing their own things, and people are still talking in their own groups. And I just, like, these tears were flowing and my face was getting puffy. I didn't really know what to do. And then a friend of mine, CT, he asked me, he's like, "Hey man, you got hay fever or something?" I was like, "Yeah, I got hay fever. That's what it is. Yeah, I'm hay fever." I don't even know what that was at the time, but I had to like kind of cop to something. It's like, yeah, I'm not crying. I'm fine. But I just remember that being just really pivotal and understanding is like, I really need these other people to let me know that it's okay. I wasn't okay with like being with myself at that time. That was the first time that I was truly feeling like unseen and alone. I was really needing something. And that is just kind of setting the stage here. The differences between you might find in loneliness and in solitude. Loneliness is something that you realize something is missing, and solitude is realizing that nothing ever really was missing. So today, that's exactly what we're going to explore. We're going to explore how we can transform loneliness into powerful, nourishing solitude, and how we can build a lifelong partnership with ourselves. And I'm going to share a little bit about my story, and we're just going to get down through it and just kind of go through of like why this is important right now. And there's an epidemic happening in America right now here too. It's like this definite loneliness, especially with men, because we have our groups. We guys have their friends and their buddies, and then things begin to change as we get older. We cultivate relationships with people, our partners, our future partners, and then that becomes our only source of social connection. We tend to drop off of these other circles, and then as life goes on, we just give our attention to that one person, maybe a few people. Then as time passes, those people die off, and then we're left alone, and we don't have our resources about us to really understand that, hey, social health plays a factor here. So it's again, going back to loneliness. Loneliness is like this lack. It's separation. It's something that's missing. And what we're wanting to do is cultivate something that's real, something that's full of creativity. So going back into the stats of loneliness, it's like it affects 1 in 3 men I know in particular. This is a lot where my work is with men. 1 in 3 people have reported feeling lonely, and that loneliness is a big problem. It has become an epidemic to where it is just as dangerous as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. is according to the past Surgeon General. This is Vivek Murphy's book here too, called Together, where he talks about the importance of connection, and he goes through some harrowing statistics of like the effects of being so lonely causes so much stress that it is uh, debilitating, as destructive as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. And people are dealing with this at 1 out of 3, and that number's only climbing. And you would think with the advent of social media and things like this, this is promoting some sense of, togetherness. And again, that's our hope here, and this is what we're doing here. But again, we're all about this. This show is really about helping you get back to yourself, where you're never feeling lonely. You feel whole. So this is being lonely is going to trigger stress responses inside of your body. And then, of course, with those stress responses, you're going to find yourselves in unhealthy habits, whether it's coping or numbing with substances, or sexual encounters, or dangerous things out there, like maybe jumping your truck over a ravine just to tell your buddies a cool story. But hey, that's a story for another time. But it just, you get yourself in sort of risky behaviors, when you find yourself in desperate means to kind of to trying to ease the loneliness. So we're going to work on continually building emotional resilience and clarity with cultivating a solitude practice for yourself, with something I call Solitude Snacks. But before that, we're going to talk about kind of like what I was really going through, and I could really speak from my own experience here, and feel free to share in the comments below in your search for belonging. But, after the 6th grade debacle, I was still a class clown, and really found my group of people, and I started to carve like a persona, and a character for myself, something that I took with me into college. And in college, I went to a small school in Dillon, Montana. It was Western Montana College, and I got on the football team. I walked on there, earned a scholarship, which was nice, but I really wanted to be part of a team. I was involved in a lot in team sports in high school, football, wrestling, even though that's more, individual. But I looked good in tights in my senior year, but not earlier. I'm getting off track. I was involved in a lot in team sports. I took that into college, to where did everything together as a team. I mean, you're getting together at the first thing, even before school. You're having football practice. You're having 2-a-day practices where everyone's sweating and bleeding together, and the locker room togetherness, and then on the field, and then back in the locker room, and then afterwards in the training room where you're icing yourself down, and then all the weird crude jokes and the weird ways guys like work on connecting with one another. And that carries on into your social life, where you're doing stuff in a little bit smaller groups. But we would usually hang around, like I played on the defensive line, so I would hang around other defensive linemen, especially in my other class, and we would eat together and then hang out together. And then days where we weren't all hanging out together, we were hanging out at least in pairs. We were never alone. And then the only time we were broke away from your team is when you were looking for perhaps like a girlfriend, just put that nicely, a girlfriend. Yeah, girlfriend. Anyway, so never really alone. And that I took that with me for a lot of years, 4 years of that into, I definitely rolled into another relationship. And then that's when I got married at a very young age, when I transferred out of Montana and lived in Pocatello for a while. So then I never really cultivated this understanding that I needed to be with myself. And then fast forward a few years later, then I got myself into it was a way different life. And I was in a situation where I was kind of this figuring out who I was at the time. I was selling cars, not really appreciating that much. I was good with sales because I was pretty good with people. And then I got out of that and somehow got myself involved with the underground electronic music scene here in Boise, back when there was a scene. And not really doing much during the daytime. It was really pretty much a nightlife that I was involved with. But we had togetherness and bonding, camaraderie together, because a lot of these people that get together at these at these parties and those get-togethers were people that are kind of lost and finding their way and hurt and traumatized, and we got to find our way to kind of heal together. So the music brought us together. A lot of substances brought people together too. I was more into the music side of things, but I definitely dabbled. But we were all really just kind of escaping the loneliness, that feeling of loneliness through the noise, through the beats, through dance. And that was all wonderful. That was great. It's definitely stimulating. There was definite highs in all kinds of ways, but that came with just as low lows. It was as high as if you're on cloud 9, you're down in the 7th ring of hell, right after that. So learning to navigate that was tough. So there was a lot of alone time during those electronic music days. And it is, as like any story goes, when you're big into excess and you're big into like using and around other people, you lose other things. If you use, you lose. And you really do lose your people around you that you were solid with. You start to lose your assets because you're selling it for substances. I found myself there, living in smaller and smaller houses and living on people's couches. And then eventually the behaviors that I got myself involved left me really isolated and disconnected. And the only way I felt connection is by going out to another party. So that was kind of the downhill slide. And then as I hit kind of this rock bottom spot, this is very poignant for me. And I think it's poignant that we all hit our rock bottom. But for me, it was living in this 500 square foot shack here in the north end of Boise. It's like one of those little cottage houses, that's behind another house. Rent was like $475 a month, and I could barely afford it. I was kind of a freelance massage therapist. I had gone to school for that, making a little bit of money, selling on the side, whatever that I had, like any assets that I had. Like I would sell old furniture and things like that. But I had really no friends outside of the music scene. I had sold my TV. There really wasn't much to do. I had been warned that I was going to be evicted because I was really late on rent. I'd used up my last favors with my parents. It was just kind of that thing. I'd used up a lot of favors from friends. And I think the only thing I had at that time was the public library for internet. But I didn't even have heat really in the house. And it was, I think the rock bottom day was actually Christmas. No one was around. I wasn't around my kids at the time. And just sitting at home in a desolate kind of little shack. Everything was empty. I remember I had one camp chair, one of those folding camp chairs. I had one of those. And I had my turntables because DJing was the only thing in my life. I did have turntables and my speakers and a old couple crates of vinyl I would play, but that was it. And I remember just kind of sitting down there, really feeling lonely. Like, what do I do? I had a DVD player with played portable DVDs. It was just like this little screen. It stopped working. So then what do I do? And then I ended up picking up this book called On Yogi Philosophy that I had been carrying with me for like 4 years from a previous relationship. She left the book behind, said Yogi Philosophy on it. And it was like made in the 1903 or something. It was really old. I kept it around because it looked like really cool. And I just wanted people to know, hey, it was deep. I read a book on philosophy. I had no intentions of ever reading it. The biggest reason is that I thought I was too stupid to understand what philosophy was. But then there was that time on Christmas, so I was like, well, I don't know, something led me to kind of just pick up this book. Let me just see if I can read the page. And then as reading the pages, these words were just coming alive for me. And it was like telling me my entire story about, the words that were coming up is that they were empowering words to tell me that I'm on the right path. I'm in the darkness right now, but there's ways to find the light. It was that for me, almost a religious type of experience to where I could understand it. For one, I was understanding the words, and then I could see a way forward for myself, that all this suffering had a purpose to it. And that's when it really started to fall in line with these philosophies, because these are things that I felt deep inside me. This wasn't some outside thing, even though it was in a book. It was things were coming up within me. I had no distractions around me, and I was really there in the moment and cultivating that first relationship with myself, cultivating that feeling of what solitude feels like. So it was started getting me really curious about the inner me, the seer, the person that sees this, the person that's probably behind your eyeballs right now, that's seeing me or seeing your screen or seeing life as it happens to you. So that just led me down my path. And from there, there's been a lot of ups and downs, but that was the biggest moment for me, that I need to have. So, and then I'm starting to learning to savor the solitude. So it was about a year after that, I I've gotten together with the previous that moved to Japan, and I was able to move to Japan with her. And in that time, it was so enlightening. Like I remember it was the longest plane flight I ever took, going from leaving from Boise, going to Tokyo. I I remember the only thing I had with me was it was just before they had really had a TV on this plane, but I had this old busted up MP3 player that had like duct tape around it, and listened on my headphones, and these same tracks I listened over and over and over again. Um, Taking the longest flight I ever took in my life, it was like 8 hours. Landed, and the smells were completely different. Like I remember even just like landing, before landing, going over Tokyo, and it's usually here you see everything is like in grid layer, in squares. In Tokyo, everything is really rounded and moves with the land, the contours of the landscape, and you land, and it's just this, the humidity hits you and the smells hit you and all the different sounds, and it's, it's in a different language. It's in Japanese, but it's one thing to really know it, it's another thing to really hear it and try to take it all in. And that day moving forward in Japan, there was a lot of time with myself to discover and explore. It's like being on another planet. The amount of street signs that I saw that have kanji on them, I have no idea. There's no context. Like I have no idea what it means. I know everything is very colorful. Everything's moving very fast and very structured. It was like being on another planet. The food was different. I mean, in Tokyo, you can't really read the menu. You get like these life-size like models or kits of what the actual food looks like. So you can look and point, and it's like, that's what I want right there. And it comes out looking exactly like it. I could go on and on about Japan, but what was really interesting about it is that I was surrounded by so many people, but me not understanding the language, I couldn't get trapped in other people's conversations and overhearing anything. I still had to observe. I could still observe, but I wasn't really caught in anybody else's story. I could observe and then kind of understand and just kind of get the gist of maybe what they were talking about, but I could really stay with myself. And I started really becoming addicted to that state of just observing life as it happened, going on walks and seeing different buildings, the bright lights and the different colors and all. It was like being in an anime cartoon without drugs. Um, so it was just so telling. This is a place where the term forest bathing has come from, and this is a study done by Japanese scientists where they study the effects of a forest on your parasympathetic nervous system, the type of system that helps you rest and relax. So it's absolutely enriching to go walk through a forest and then feeling its effects on you. It's like you walking through the forest, and they have these different forests and parks throughout Japan, obviously, but like even in Tokyo and in other cities, they have little parks, and there was one I used to travel through in Zamashi, and beautifully kept trails and decks built out and pass through the woods, and the trees are just beautiful, and the cicadids are just going off, and you're feeling the humidity. It's like walking through a car wash, really, in a way. You can think of it that way. That's the bath. You can feel things just like brushing off your conscious thoughts as you walk through the trees and the forest and stepping over the streams. You're paying attention to how your feet are hitting the trail. You're listening to the water, travel on, through the creeks on by and by, how the wind, makes the sounds cutting through the bamboo leaves and moving the bamboo forest over, and you're just seeing the waves at the tops of the trees, and it's just a beautiful experience being in nature, just completely observing, serving the differences, the similarities, especially when you're when you're traveling over abroad is just, you love just witnessing the differences, the similarities, all those things. And that's what I really got when I was in Tokyo, being with myself and really observing life as it was coming to me. And during that time, I could just be in the moment and just witness. And the eye within me, the seer, was able to see this beauty, recognizing beauty, and then matching what I'm seeing outside with it, the beauty that I've started to feel and cultivate on the inside, little by little, even though I didn't know on a conscious side plane that this was happening, but it was healing me. But it enhanced my calm, and it just really helped me truly realize that I wasn't alone, is that I had me happening all along. So I want to just kind of talk about the power that you can cultivate with solitude and creativity to really defeat the loneliness, of course. But I don't really want to just talk about defeating loneliness, because it serves its purpose, and talk about that at another time. But let's really focus on cultivating solitude through creative means. Your creativity really is a bridge, and that's why I always like talking about like working with your inner artist. Taking your artist out on a date, so to speak. This is talked about in the book, The Artist Way, about cultivating that inner artist with you, like going out to doing things that you really love to do. And when we talk about building a bridge, essentially a bridge is a place that takes you over a gap. This is like where you are. Maybe here's ideal you, and there's this gap of whether learning or understanding. And this creativity allows you to build this bridge between the two, and allows you to traverse to other areas and other parts of yourself. So it's this solitude. It helps you cultivate this inner artist, and that artist is a person. An artist is a person that really could be in the middle of a mess and learn how to make their mess their masterpiece. Embrace the ugliness as a part of the beauty. There's this beautiful line by Alan Watts that says, that it's the manure that contributes to the perfume of the rose. I just love that, because it's usually when we're in our deepest shit, this seeds of knowledge and of life and of new ideas really can take root. They fertilize that. You find yourself deep in the shit, something's going to grow out of that if you stay with it. So there's a lot of creativity that can flow and come from that downtime for you. So finding that your inner art, being okay with those messes, and that's all part of your masterpiece. Being an artist doesn't mean everything is perfect. It means that you can make beauty happen with whatever life throws at you, and whatever medium you want to use. So Solitude Snacks examples here. Like I love this term, like Solitude Snacks. Like there's this thing called exercise snacks, where you just go out for like 10 minutes a day, get a little walk in. The same thing with the solitude snack. It doesn't mean that you have to cut off your relationship with your significant other, or your parents, or anyone in your life. But let's titrate into solitude, because there is going to be times where it's going to be uncomfortable for you if you're not feeling like you're posting every day and keeping up with your social media crowd. It's going to be kind of painful if you pull back and practice like straight solitude. You can't quit cold turkey. So practice a little titration. That means just kind of stepping into something, testing one, and then come back out and just trying it a little bit longer and a little bit longer. Right. So a solitude snack could look like going out for a walk for 10 minutes by yourself without these in, and just paying attention to the sounds you hear. It's springtime right now, so you get to hear birds. You get to feel the sun on your face. What does the ground feel like below your feet? Listening to the different sounds, the cacophony of noises, perhaps noticing the silence, noticing your breathing. There's so much to really pay attention to. If you just take 10 minutes to titrate into a little bit of discomfort that you might feel when you're trying on solitude, so snack on it. And then those 10-minute snacks can turn to 15. And then after a few weeks, you're doing it for 20. And within that time, you can just observe what's happening, and then compare that to what you're feeling inside, the stuff that you might be going through. And as you're going on these different walks, it's a way of you to process. You got left, right. And this is the same thing that you get with the EMDR. which is the eye movement rapidization, to where your eyes kind of twitch back and forth. It really helps your brain really process between the right and left brain hemispheres. You get that same type of thing, that same type of stimulation when you're walking left, right, and it helps you really process. So understand that there's a process to you processing while you're out there processing your process. Okay, so and you don't necessarily have to make it hard on yourself. There's this Taoist principle called Wu Wei, which I love. It's just like finding effortlessness in the moment, and don't really force it. Just feel the flow, move with the wind, move with a certain flow that you're feeling there too. So if it's whether you're walking, whether the solitude practice has you writing or journaling or stretching, doing some yoga, some Tai Chi, perhaps even golf completely by yourself. I don't know. We got to find a practice that's to where you could take yourself out and just be with yourself. And again, walking, hiking, being in nature, I think is some of the most powerful, but I'm open to your creative ways and how you do it. So it's going back to this idea of Wu Wei, though. It's like this, sometimes we really want to force a result instead of just naturally letting it unfold. And my work as a yoga instructor here too is really that same thing I try to instill with my students, is like, meaning you can get yourself down in these positions and these poses, and you might find your face like holding your breath right there, where you're wanting to, like, can you hold that same position without trying to make your face contort? If it's going to pop off your face. That's actually my lifting face. But is there a way to like let go of the trying right here, conserve energy, and focus on the parts that you actually really need to have work? I don't know. That's the effortlessness that we're talking about here. So there's no need to make your practice, your solitude snack, hurt. Find a flow for yourself. And then when you're feeling uncomfortable, come on back home. Get back to the cacophony noises, get back on your phone, feel safe there a little bit, and notice those differences. And again, this is going to take a little bit of work. You're going to have a confrontation with yourself in order to change. That's the only way change works. You have to have some confrontation, but you don't have to force the confrontation. You can just ask, that opposing force questions. What feels uncomfortable right now to me? What feels comfortable to me right now? So those same types of things too. So don't really need to go into it with such effort. Think of creative ways to flow with it. We're going to explore flow a lot more moving forward here, but this is a lot of what like Carl Jung talks about. He talks about solitude being essential for individuation, becoming your truest form of yourself. And I love Jung's work. I'm discovering it and I'm learning more about it. And I want to discuss more of his work with you, but I just love the idea of individuation. It's like there's no better purpose in life than becoming who you truly are at your core. And that's where my work really is motivated by, working with men that are so curious on who they really are without having to put the mask on or put the persona on to be accepted by other people. This is about really cultivating a relationship with yourself. This whole Reunion Hub logo is about coming back home to you, where you've always been, being true and authentic to yourself. And Jung talks a lot about that with being individualized, being an individual, and accepting all parts of yourself. We'll get into shadow work on the next show here too. It was really starting to accept those parts of you that we really hide or deny or repress because maybe they're not accepted, but it's until we can really accept ourselves fully, the bad, the good, the ugly, it's part of you. It's all part of your masterpiece. It's all part of your art. It's, again, accepting the mess, accepting that you accept wisdom into your life. And then from there, you can learn, you can teach, you can grow. And that's interesting. No one wants to hear about how cool you are as far as like always exceeding, always crushing it and killing it and all that thing. That's, and I'm not saying anybody does that. It's just, maybe it's in my head, but embrace the suffering, embracing the suck. That's, again, a lot of people talk about that, but I like to Think of it in less, just prettier terms, and just as your art piece. It's your life is your art. Thoreau, one other guy I just loved here too, when he decided to be in a cabin in the middle of nowhere, he decided to live intentionally, built his own cabin and lived on Emerson's land on Walden Pond, and just wrote. He was his creative self, and just understanding that he didn't need really anything else. He didn't even need to be outside of Concordia. Everything he needed in the world was right there with him. That's a wonderful read on the power of solitude, creativity. Yeah, he even writes, like, I never found a companion that was so companionable as solitude. So understand, find your person out there. Find your person out there that helps you understand solitude. To understand that's where your power lies. And if you can be with yourself, you can be with anyone. And you know the type of people you don't want to be around too. So practical tools. I want to give you some practical tools here to really embrace this idea of solitude moving forward. It's the Solitude Snacks. Again, small intentional moments to reconnect to yourself, taking yourself out. Like, man, I'm like, notice when you're in a hurry. Notice when you might be having more outbursts, or just pesky, or noticing these things that come up. If your butt hurts and you're sitting in a chair all the time, take yourself out and reconnect with yourself. Put your feet on the ground and step around, even if it's for 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Reconnect to yourself that way. Silent walks in nature, journaling for 5 to 10 minutes daily. I have a journal. I usually got to bring this with me, but it's a 5-minute journal where I just jot down the things that I'm grateful for, what I'm looking forward to for the day, and like a mantra for the day. It just takes about 5 minutes, but it's a way to get back to your creative self. It's a way to write out your blueprint for the day and how you want that to happen. Think creatively. Have fun with it, man. It doesn't have to be a chore. It's your life. It's now or never. And I don't want to wait forever. Anyway, so hiking, solo adventures, like creative expression, painting, doodling. I don't even care if you draw the house with a little smokestack and little things coming out. This is stupid. I'm just draw something, put it up on the board. Think creatively. How do you want to express your creativity? We all have it, and we have a right to use it. And we open up a part of an intelligence that we didn't even know that we have had happen, that we have at our disposal. It opens up a whole different part of our brain. Creativity is so important. It's so important that we gotta talk like this to get it through to you. The creativity is the key to transforming your life to the life that you've always wanted, the life that lies inside you, dormant, underneath the pile of shit that life has given you. You're going to pay attention to that seed, and we're going to grow it out of that. And remember, the more dump that's on you, the more the perfume of that in your inner rose is going to just fill the room with your odor. This is salted lemon water. Recipes after the show. Titrating into solitude. Okay, this is just to promote that safety. Titrating means just trying a little bit, like how we titrate when you kind of hang out with your buddy who says, "Dude, cold bathing, dude. Cold plunge. Get a cold plunge, bro. Get in the river. It's like 10 degrees. Just jump in, break the ice, jump in, get out. Right? Let's do it. Let's get ripped." Stuff. No one I talk to sounds like that. I'm just playing a little. This is my creative thing in my mind. I'm playing you a little movie, but you know those people that probably talk to you about, come on, let's go get in the cold water for as long as possible. It's good for you. We want to titrate, so feel free to just dip your toe in the cold water and then say thank you, and then get your hot chocolate and leave if that's what you want to do. But the whole idea here is you want to start with short periods of silence here when you titrate into your solitude, just a little bit, if it's spooky for you. If you want to go all out, go all out. But again, there's ways to ground yourself by paying attention to the ground as you're walking. Thich Nhat Hanh talks about like kissing the ground with your feet. I always love that expression. Breathing techniques, paying attention to your breathing. The 4-4-4 breath is inhaling for 4, holding for 4, exhaling for 4, holding out for 4. and then doing it again. There's a 4-7-8 breath. So you can look up breathing techniques too as a way to kind of bring you in the moment. Some gentle movement. You get that with walking. You can get it with stretching. Tai chi. Some type of just light workout to bring you into that moment, to practice that type of solitude with yourself. So those are ways you could titrate to kind of ease the discomfort that you might feel when you're trying on solitude, and really just focus on these benefits. That's the big thing, is focusing on how this is helping me. Don't just do it because I'm telling you to do it. Again, this should inspire you to try to discover this for yourself. You're going to feel, instead of this powerlessness that you feel with the aloneness, it's going to change to empowerment. It's going to be so empowering when you cultivate this relationship with yourself. You can be with yourself. You don't feel like you have to conform to a crowd and partake in the things that the crowd is doing to be accepted. You're accepted by yourself. Okay. And so that's the key, is feeling that sense of empowerment, slowing yourself down, feeling that, focus on the benefits. You're gonna when you forcibly slow stuff down, that's going to be difficult for some of you go-getters, is to slow things down, to put things off just a little bit and tend to yourself. That's going to be it might be some difficulty there for you too, but I want you to feel that the type of relief that you're giving yourself when you're offering yourself space and you're not scheduling yourself to the max. Okay, so try to find ways to ramp down. Feel and notice that this is a relief to my stress. I'm getting better sleep. I'm not snapping back at my family or my friends. I'm eating better. I'm getting better rest. And your health is beginning to change. You're feeling better with yourself. You're going to notice lower blood sugar. We're going to get into CGM management. I'm wearing a CGM here underneath here, and your metabolic health too, and how that plays a factor in it. Lowering your stress, lowering your blood, has a direct effect on your blood sugar, which is very interesting, because it helps with your sleep, etc. Helps your blood sugar, helps you with your energy levels, which helps you with the amount of food that you take in, which helps you with your exercise that you partake in. It really starts with your metabolic health here too. So those benefits of practicing solitude is definitely helping you with your metabolic health and how you conserve energy. How you convert energy from food and exercise into energy for your cells. Your body needs to feel safe. You're providing a safe environment when you're practicing these solitude snacks, which of course is going to lower stress hormones. It's going to improve your recovery time. So if you're trying to make gains in the gym, you're going to put on more muscle. You want better rest, you're going to have better rest. It's going to help your creative flow as well. So there's going to be a lot of benefits. Focus on those. So in closing reflection, as we come down here to the end here too, it's just important to know that loneliness is a natural thing. We're not trying to completely defeat loneliness. It's definitely something to feel. When you're feeling lonely, that's not a bad thing. When you're feeling lonely, that's just like a milepost or a marker or a reminder, is that, let me get back to myself. So loneliness is natural, but it's not a final destination for you. Okay, it's just the beginning for you to start cultivating that relationship with yourself. And again, remember, like solitude, it's a bridge for you to find your peace. It's a bridge to find your power, to find your creativity, and to have fun with your life. I'm really excited for you to start really cultivating that sense of self and who you are on the inside. It's just so interesting, isn't it, that who you always really wanted to become is been with you forever. And it's like right here or where in your gut, like where it's somewhere in these tissues, it's somewhere in our nervous system, it's somewhere in our thoughts, but it's like right here. It's very close. You're closer than you probably think. Maybe it intrigues me, So try a solitude snack today, even if it's just like 5 minutes. Reflect in your journal and just ask yourself, when do I feel most connected to myself? I talked a lot about walking and hiking, but what about you? What helps you feel connected to yourself? Let me know in the comments. I really want to know. I want to reflect on those, because you're helping me out. You're feeding me ideas. It's not just me just trying to tell you what to do. It's like, I really just want to share my experiences to find out, maybe you have the same experiences too. Let's connect on those. So I want to thank you again for being here. It's important. that you're here. It's important for me to practice being here and being present and sharing the experiences I have, and to pass on anything that I have here within me. And I really want to work with those that are really interested in really finding out who they are. Those guys out there that really want to work on making their life and designing their life in a way that is truly their masterpiece, that is their art piece. And that's physical, whether it's emotional, whether it's mental, your relationships, all of it. It really starts with that relationship with yourself. And I'm hella interested, so interested. I don't even use the words hella. It's so interesting to me to work with those that are interested in just upping their game to another whole other level. It's there. It's for the taking. It's right there for you. I want to discover that with you, and that's what I do with my design work. And I just call it my design work. You find me at Spencer Mark Coaching. We can set up a one-on-one kind of a blueprint type session of what do you want? What is important to you? And we could start building your map to get you there. Share this episode with people, that anyone that you think needs to hear it. Help me get out there, and I need you on this. You know what I mean? You need you on this too. I have upcoming episodes. This very next one, we're going to go a little bit deeper into shadow work and why that's important to help you accept all parts of yourself and have more inner peace, more clarity, better health and well-being, like all of these types of things. That's what we're going to be getting to in the next episode. So I want to thank you so much for being here. Again, check me out at Spencer Mark Coaching. You can find these full episodes on YouTube. And let's just keep this thing going. And I am excited to just keep moving forward here with you. Again, make your life a work of art today. Hey, I'm still learning. This dream is not ending.